Holi, also known as the Festival of Colors, is a vibrant and joyous Hindu festival celebrated primarily in India and Nepal and by Hindus all over the world. It signifies the victory of good over evil, dharma over adharma, and today the end of winter and the arrival of Vasant, the spring. The festival is steeped in tradition and has deep cultural and religious significance, and not to mention it's one of the most enjoyable and fun laughter-filled experiences. Today I'd like to talk about the story of Holi and the origin, which goes back thousands of years, even much before the epics like the Ramayan and the Mahabharata. Holi is also the tale of Narsimha, the fourth avatar of Lord Vishnu, and the devotion of his Bhakt Prahlad, his devotee. This story is a part of the larger narrative of the Asura king Hiranyakashipu, who was also Prahlad's father. Hiranyakashipu was a very powerful demon king, an Asura, who had gained immense powers through severe tapasya. Interestingly, he had a younger brother Hiranyaksh, who was killed by the previous third avatar of Vishnu, who put an end to the evil Hiranyaksh through the Varaha avatar, and who had brought back balance to the world. Hiranyakashipu was therefore always regarding Vishnu as his enemy. He was powerful, but also arrogant. For years, he performed severe extreme tapasya, for which Brahmadev was very pleased with him. Hiranyakashipu first asked Brahmadev to become immortal, but when Brahmadev refused, he cleverly asked for a specific boon, a vardhan, that spelled out all the different combinations and permutations such that he would, in essence, be invincible. He said that he would not want to be killed by any human or animal. He could never be killed during the day or the night. He couldn't be killed inside, neither outside. He couldn't be killed by any weapon. He couldn't be killed on the ground, in the air, or in the water. So he chuckled. He thought that, well, he's covered all his bases, nothing can happen to him now. So Hiranyakashipu's pride and ego knew no bounds, and he demanded that everyone in the entire world worship him as a god. Everyone except for his own son Prahlad. That's right, Hiranyakashipu had a young son Prahlad who was not his but Lord Vishnu's Bhakt, a devout follower from right when he was born. You see, when Hiranyakashipu was off in the forest doing tapasya, some of the devas had tried to attack his kingdom, and his wife Kayadhu, who was a very pure and pious woman, was pregnant with Prahlad at the time, and she was protected by Rishi Narad. Thus, when Prahlad was born, the young boy grew up to be a devoted bhakt of Lord Vishnu, because when his pregnant mother was under the care of Rishi Narad, he had been greatly influenced by the sadhana, the chanting, and the prayers of Narada himself, a huge Vishnu devotee. Prahlad's father ruled the world for close to 100 million years because of his near invincibility. He believed himself to be the most supreme powerful ruler of the entire universe, but a thorn in his happiness was his own son. He hated that his son did not worship him, but rather Vishnu, his enemy. At first he tried nicely, then aggressively through talking to convince his son, but when that didn't work, he resorted to threats. Despite Hiranyakashipu's threats and his many attempts to dissuade Prahlad, the boy remained steadfast in his devotion to Vishnu. He declared that no matter the situation, his Pujya Bhagwan Vishnu was always there to protect him. So the egoistic Hiranyakashipu, who had obtained everything in life, was ballistic at this point. He was overcome with anger, and he took that as a challenge on his ego. Frustrated by his son's devotion to Vishnu, Hiranyakashipu subjected him to various trials and tortures. Hiranyakashipu initially tried to poison Prahlad to rid himself of his son's devotion, but Prahlad remained unharmed because of his pure heart and divine protection. When poisoning failed, Hiranyakashipu then ordered a large herd of hundreds of stampeding elephants to trample and kill Prahlad. Despite the danger, Prahlad's faith remained unshaken and he remained without a scratch. Next, Hiranyakashipu attempted to kill Prahlad by throwing him off a high cliff off the top of a mountain. His father was shocked when he saw Prahlad, instead of falling, gently floating down like a feather. In another cruel attempt, Prahlad was thrown into a pit that was filled with hundreds of venomous snakes. Miraculously, the snakes did not even bite him. Nothing happened to him and he emerged unharmed. Hiranyakaship's next plan was to immerse Prahlad in boiling oil, and Prahlad was thrown in. But Prahlad remained completely untouched by the heat. It was as if he was in a warm bathtub of water. Hiranyakashipu used everything in his manner, but Prahlad refused and he continued chanting Vishnu's name. Despite facing these extreme trials, prejudice and threat to his life, Prahlad's faith in Lord Vishnu remained unshaken. We can learn from this story and apply it in our lives even today because it serves as a testament to the power of devotion, and that if you keep faith in God, if you keep faith in the divine, then protection always accompanies unwavering faith. Finally, when all of his tricks had failed, he called upon his sister. His sister's name was Holika, and the name Holi is actually derived from the word Holika, as you'll know in just a second. Holika herself had a special vardhan that made her immune to fire. Holika was confident in her immunity to fire, and so a plan was made where a large pyre with lots of wood was created. Holika sat in the middle of it with Prahlad in her lap, and they intended to burn him alive. Prahlad, however, just kept on smiling and kept on with his meditation, lost in the chanting of Vishnu's name. And when the fire was heated up, he emerged completely unharmed in the fire, whereas Holika herself perished. The term Holika eventually evolved into Holi, the festival of Holi, and that's why every Holi, when we celebrate, we light a huge bonfire in every village of India, and various offerings are made in Vishnu Bhagwan's name, whether it's coconut, popcorn, different flowers, etc. Because it all signifies the defeat of evil and the celebration of love, joy, and ultimately the arrival of spring for all the farmers in the Indian subcontinent. Finally, after his own sister had been killed, Hiranyakashipu had had enough. He decided to take matters into his own hands and kill his own son. He challenged Prahlad, taunting him as to how come he's never seen his Vishnu. Despite praying all day, Vishnu had never shown himself. Prahlad said that that's not necessary because Vishnu was everywhere. He was omnipresent. He was the universe. This scene that was taking place was right in the middle of the palace courtyard, where then Hiranyakashipu pointed to a large pillar. He taunted his son, asking him, if your so-called Vishnu was everywhere, does that mean that he resided even in that pillar that was over there in the courtyard? Prahlad smiled and fearlessly affirmed that yes, Vishnu was indeed omnipresent, and he was present even in that pillar. That really set off Hiranyakashipu, and in a fit of rage, he ran over to the pillar and smashed it, and it broke into pieces, and from it a large light came, and there emerged the fourth avatar of Lord Vishnu, Lord Narsimha. Narsimha was a half-man, half-lion incarnation of Lord Vishnu. This form was specifically created to bypass the boons that Hiranyakashipu so cleverly thought he had been granted. As Narsimha appeared, he was neither fully human nor animal, with the head of a lion and the body of a human. And the encounter took place right at sunset, at dusk, when it was neither day nor night. It was in the palace courtyard, in such an area where it wasn't completely outside or inside. And Narsimha, of course, was no match for Hiranyakashipu, who picked him up in a rage and then used his claws to rip into his body. His claws, by the way, were not a weapon. They were neither a living nor non-living object. And he then picked up Hiranyakashipu and placed him on his thighs. Again, he was neither on the sea, floating in the air, nor on earth. And then he ripped into his body to finally put an end to the evil Asura and rid the world of his adharma and bring back balance, all while fulfilling all of his boon's conditions. Ultimately, Prahlad's resolve and his bhakti leads to the downfall of his evil father and the triumph of righteousness, of dharma. His bhakti also calms the anger of Narsimha Avatar, who by his very character was very rageful and angry. Prahlad's unwavering devotion to Vishnu stemmed from his pure heart and deep spiritual understanding, despite being just a young boy. And despite the constant threats and religious persecution from his own father, Prahlad was brave. He never wavered in his path. He stuck to his path. He saw the divine presence of Vishnu in everything and believed in the ultimate victory of Dharma. So that's it for today's video, dear viewers. Keep exploring and stay curious. Thank you so much for watching.